know who she thinks she is, but I do think it might be someone with real power, and it shouldn't be. She wanted her own Hail to the Chief song, and it happened. It's called Fanfare for the First Lady. It's a terrible song. Listen to a little bit of this. The point is her ego. Her ego is out of control.
What happens when the queen of political spin finally loses her grip? Picture Hillary Clinton, stone-faced, seasoned, always in control, suddenly unraveling in front of millions. Now add Megyn Kelly, a journalist with a reputation for cutting through excuses like a buzzsaw through plywood. That's the setup. What followed wasn't just an interview. It was a televised implosion. Secrets flying, tempers boiling, egos colliding in real time. Think Trainwreck meets political theater with popcorn included. You thought Clinton's scandals were a thing of the past? Think again. This wasn't the ending, it was the sequel. And Hillary's meltdown? Pure must-see TV.
Has a very weird and I think shitty marriage. I don't think she has a husband who is in love with her or faithful to her, and I think I can't really blame him because she seems to have accepted this behavior since the inception of their marriage. And so past this prologue, you're going to get what you tolerate. You know, what you permit, you promote. She spent all of her daughter's upbringing away, at work, at the law firm, in the White House, running for office. And Chelsea Clinton is not a nice person.
Before we move forward, smash that like button and subscribe because you don't want to miss this one. Hillary Clinton has always presented herself as the political version of a fortress. Stone walls, iron gates, carefully polished windows, and a moat filled with excuses. For decades, she strutted through scandal after scandal like she had diplomatic immunity from reality. Emails? Just a technical hiccup. Strange connections? Merely misunderstood networking. Every controversy was brushed off as a misunderstanding, never a reckoning.
Happening in America. You can feel it. Something we've worked for and dreamed of for a long time. Donald Trump fell asleep at his own trial, and when he woke up, he made his own kind of history. The first person to run for president with 34 felony convictions.
Her entire public persona was wrapped in layers of bulletproof spin, as if she believed the world would eventually just get bored of asking questions. Spoiler alert, it didn't. Enter Megyn Kelly, sharp, relentless, and armed with questions like truth grenades. Kelly doesn't lob softballs. She doesn't flatter or cushion. And on this day, she brought an entire arsenal pointed directly at Hillary's shadowy corners.
Classified appendix to Durham's report from May of 2023. Let's see. Reveals strong evidence that the FBI covered up a plot by the Hillary Clinton campaign to amplify ties between Trump and Russia. That the FBI covered up the plot. This is the new piece of it that's being dropped today because we knew Hillary did it. And Fox Digital had reported earlier this week that we were going to see this annex and it was going to suggest the FBI knew that she was going to do it and then covered it up. And that's where we're going now with this, that Kash Patel said he found the Durham appendix and thousands of other documents inside a burn bag in a secret room at FBI headquarters.
Hillary walked in with her usual performance. Practiced smiles, polished talking points, the kind of lines smoother than marble countertops. But Kelly wasn't buying it. She came armed with receipts. What happened next was television gold. You could almost hear the screech of Hillary's political armor cracking in real time.
Very different ballgame today than it was even 4 years ago, never mind 8 or 10 years ago when she was doing all this. And back to Hillary, you know, the whole, she has a hat she's tweeted herself out wearing, but her emails. She's tried to turn it into this ridiculous joke, like, oh, but the moon landing, like you nutcases who are still railing about this made up scandal, this thing that, you know, you've used to try to unfairly tar me. She did need to distract from that email scandal.
Megyn didn't just peel back the spin. She ripped it off like duct tape stuck to skin. Suddenly, Clinton's secrets came tumbling out. Her composure collapsed faster than a house of cards in a wind tunnel. It was like watching a carefully built Jenga tower get nudged by the world's most persistent toddler. Awkward, chaotic, and impossible to look away from.
Should be in jail. Literally, Hillary Clinton should be behind bars. And so should the people who worked for her who did this. This is so blatantly corrupt. She wanted to distract from her email scandal. She cooked up a plan to accuse Trump of being a Russian agent in order to distract from her own legitimate scandal. She made up a scandal about Trump being a Russian asset.
At first, Hillary tried the classics: deflect, dismiss, dance around the point like a lawyer in a courtroom drama. But Megyn wasn't playing interviewer. She was playing judge, jury, and demolition crew. Each fact landed like a hammer, and then came the explosion. Hillary's meltdown wasn't just a slip. It was a detonation. Her voice tightened, her face flushed crimson, and suddenly the battle-tested politician looked more like a short-circuiting robot than a stateswoman. If you squinted, you could almost see sparks flying.
Speaking of Hillary, her op-ed, which is really pretty spectacular in the New York Times. First of all, my team just showed me this. Have you seen the cover for her new book? It's something lost, something gained. Gained is with Freudian slip. And I like the amount of retouching on this face I haven't seen since, Joan Rivers had her 15th surgery. God love Joan. I don't know what she's trying to be with this soft focus. My executive producer, Steve Krakauer, is like, she looks nothing like herself.
Kelly laid out the case like a prosecutor, and Hillary had no escape hatch. Suddenly, every carefully rehearsed soundbite sounded stale. Every pivot felt forced, like a comedian bombing on stage. The angrier she got, the funnier it became. Clinton went full supernova, lashing out, hurling accusations, tossing excuses that landed with zero impact. And while she flailed, Megyn stayed calm, tightening the screws, delivering punch after punch. Viewers at home weren't just watching, they were glued to the screen. Within minutes, memes and GIFs flooded social media, immortalizing her meltdown.
I think really is just sort of getting along based on the family name at this point. And so now she's got a daughter who I guess married a rich guy, but is struggling in her own right. Hillary's in a loveless marriage. She probably doesn't have a lot of real friends, just people who are glamours. And so she absolutely does have to write a fifth memoir and go on MSNBC and be told that she's amazing and that she matters.
Here's the irony. Hillary built her entire career on controlling narratives. Yet the harder she tried to control this one, the more it slipped away. It was like trying to hold water in a fist. The tighter she gripped, the less she had. By the end, Megyn Kelly was standing tall, calm, and victorious, while Hillary looked like the star of a blooper reel gone viral. But this wasn't just about one meltdown. The secrets Megyn exposed had legs. They revived old wounds and cast fresh doubts on Clinton's entire political legacy.
Dream of going up to her and sitting down next to her, taking her in my arms and saying, "Look at me, listen to me. You will survive. You will have a good family of your own and 3 children. And as hard as it might be to imagine, your daughter will grow up and become the President of the United States. I am as sure of this as anything I have ever known. America is the greatest country in the world."
Hillary didn't just explode once. She erupted in stages, like a volcano that keeps spewing ash long after the first blast. Megyn was the calm tour guide pointing at every plume of smoke with a smile. The first wave? Clinton's infamous backroom dealings. Kelly laid out the timeline with surgical precision, showing how coincidences and financial trails always seemed to benefit Hillary's inner circle. Suddenly, her carefully polished career looked like a crooked flowchart drawn by a toddler.
Okay, I raised Chelsea Clinton because her mother, Hillary, for some reason, thought it would be moving, a good idea, a good PR move for her to on camera read the acceptance speech she was going to give in 2016, the night she never was able to let down the balloons and the fireworks. And it's part of a masterclass, I guess, educational video on the topic of resilience. And here's a little soundbite of
Hillary's response was priceless. That trademark half smile, the one meant to signal confidence, now looked more like someone holding in a sneeze at a funeral. Her shoulders stiffened, her eyes darted, and for a split second, you saw it, the realization that her old tactics weren't working. So she escalated, finger wagging, voice rising, blaming critics as obsessed. It was the political equivalent of shouting, "Why are you still talking about this?" while standing in a fire you lit yourself.
Is it over? Is she done? I'm so uncomfortable.
I don't know about you, but that speech makes me, I relive that same night that Trump got elected, man. It makes me feel so good when I hear that.
I'm, the kids say cringe. It's very cringy, the whole thing. And why, of all time, right, like for 4 years and beyond, we were always saying she's like a nice woman. She never expresses emotion. She had like one.
Megyn then shifted the spotlight to Hillary's decades-long relationship with power, championing the people while crushing allies, insiders, and aides who dared stand in her way. It was like opening a closet and having not one skeleton, but an entire marching band of skeletons tumble out. Clinton squirmed, rolled her eyes, and painted Megyn as biased. But it didn't land. When someone calmly lists your greatest hits of controversy like it's a Spotify playlist, playing the victim card just makes you look weaker.
Violated the law with that homebrew server that had been accessed by foreign agents. She compromised national intelligence information. She did things she would never have allowed anybody at the State Department to do under her. And that leaves me back to Schellenberger here. This is page 4 of his report. He writes as follows: the Russian reports, again, that the Dutch spied on, that we got our hands on, also claimed, and listen to this. I mean, you probably already know this stuff, Glenn, but claimed that Attorney General Loretta Lynch, okay, this is back in 16, people, remember, Obama's president. Loretta Lynch is his Attorney General. And her DOJ/FBI are investigating the Hillary Clinton email scandal.
And Hillary couldn't stop herself. If she had stayed composed, she might have salvaged some dignity. Instead, she chased every bait like a cat after a laser pointer, until exhaustion set in. The audience loved it. Every outburst became a viral clip. Every awkward reaction became a meme. And Megyn wasn't just exposing incidents. She was building a pattern. By the end, Hillary wasn't countering claims. She was drowning under a narrative that made her look less like a public servant and more like a walking cautionary tale.
Hillary Clinton decided to drop an op-ed in the New York Times today that's entitled, "How much dumber will this get?" And she uses Signalgate and the messaging by Pete Hegseth and Mike Wallace and JD Vance and Tulsi and others on there as the jumping off point to talk about how dumb the Trump administration is. Some highlights. She calls the Trump administration hypocritical, dangerous, and dumb over this story. It's not the hypocrisy that bothers me. It's the stupidity.
That's when Hillary's mask slipped completely. The polish was gone. She snapped forward, unleashed venom, and fired off a tirade that peeled paint off the walls. But instead of intimidating Megyn, it proved the point. Hillary wasn't strong. She was desperate. Kelly let her vent, then calmly delivered a mic drop moment that ended the showdown. Clinton walked away gutted, handing her critics the best gift imaginable: live footage of her imploding under pressure.
Mind though, like The air toucher, the retoucher deserves a huge raise. This is a much more soft, welcoming, friendly, I suppose, Hillary. Although again, to self-awareness, something lost, huh? I wonder what that was. Really?
Right.
You know, the woman who wrote a book called What Happened, like marveling over all the external forces that could have caused her loss in a presidential election that was handed to her on a silver platter. And then you get into this op-ed, which again is just remarkable for what's in there. She has a paragraph in there about all the prep she did.
And here's the problem with meltdowns. You can't spin them away. The footage was everywhere, Hillary unraveling, Megyn slicing through her defenses with surgical calm. Memes painted Clinton as a human volcano. Late-night comedians pounced. Social media turned her humiliation into a never-ending roast. What was supposed to be Hillary showing strength became a vivid reminder of why she's never escaped her baggage. The ghosts of her past scandals came roaring back.
And they banked on the intel agencies working with her to perpetuate this lie, and it appears they were only too happy to assist. That's what this scandal's about. Pieces of it we knew. New pieces are coming in by the day thanks to these declassifications. And it's downright shocking. Do not believe that there's no there there. The people who are saying that are wrong. They're wrong. What just broke today, like moments before we came to air, we're still getting our arms around it, was obviously provided to Michael Schellenberger before 2 minutes ago.
In the end, the irony was brutal. Hillary's career was built on controlling narratives, yet here, the harder she tried to control it, the faster it spun out of her hands. Her meltdown didn't look like strength, it looked like someone cracking under the weight of their own secrets. Megyn Kelly didn't just expose controversies. She exposed the truth that Hillary Clinton was never as bulletproof as she wanted the world to believe. And that revelation? That's the kind of truth bomb that lingers long after the cameras stop rolling.